behalf of Mac and myself, thank you very much, one and all, for giving up valuable time on a busy Friday to hear us out. We've had a look at your work, and it's good, and clearly there's some synergy between Coast and Corporate Edge, so we're delighted to be here. Thank you very much. It's Mac Mackenzie, Charlie Druce. We're producers by trade, and we run a company called Coast, as Ash said. It's an independent company, and it's 10 years old, and as Ash also said, we make brand video content. Both Mac and myself worked in advertising for 10 years. We ran a commercials production company through the 90s, some good years, some bad years. By 2000, everything was changing in the commercial landscape. The word fragmentation was on everybody's lips. There was an explosion of choice, multiplicity of channels, and the online arena was opening up so quickly around us. And all the while, audience recall for traditional spot advertising was dwindling. So what was the answer? Well, for us, the answer was then as now, was to try and define a brand editorial voice that worked in short form video. An editorial voice, not an advertising one. And why? Because that's the voice that consumers wanted to hear in amongst new and shifting media. And what's the one thing that really cuts through all the clutter in a brand environment or any other environment? Well, we feel it's a good story. And that's what we mean by the editorial voice. We mean content that entertains and informs and rewards an audience, not simply concentrates on what a brand has to sell them. If there's one thing that defines our approach and our work, I guess we hope it's this, that 30-second advertising, for example, gives a brand a chance to tell an audience what its proposition is, to explain it, to stick it out there. The Coast approach really gives a brand a chance to put that proposition into people's lives, into the middle of their lives, and show how it works. Invariably, as you'll see, we find good stories, we find real people to tell those stories, to share with us their own experiences, their own stories, often in a peer-to-peer way, and in doing so amplify what the brand proposition is and what its communications initiatives is. That's enough about what we are. Mac's going to tell you a little bit about the work, and he's going to show you 6 or 7 pieces, and then, as Ash said, we've got some handouts here which we'll leave you with. It's all the stats in, but afterwards hopefully we'll get into a discussion about why we feel some of this works. Okay.
I'll just say a few words before we start the films. I'm going to show you a cross-section of work. As Charlie said, 6 or 7 different projects. The first one is Johnny Walker, Personal Journalism, which is probably kind of regarded as our flagship series. It's a very good example of how you can take a brand proposition and make it work across platforms and press, on television in terms of both commercials and what we produce for Johnny Walker, which is a series of 53 short-form vignettes, all predicated on the proposal that Keep Walking, which is Johnny Walker's very famous strapline, obviously, is a sort of a disjunct call to action. It encourages people to overcome whatever obstacles they have in their lives and achieve something extraordinary. So we made 53 films about real people who achieved something extraordinary in their hitherto ordinary lives. I'm not going to kind of talk too much about budgets, etc. But it's worth noting that we made all of these films, all 53 of these films, for the same money as EDH made one commercial. So let me play you just 2 examples of this series.
Nothing is achieved without focus. As a child, I was desperate to be a dancer. But I was told I was too short for dance school. I hung upside down for an hour every day to stretch my body. One day, I was 3 centimeters taller. I was accepted into the Shanghai Dance Academy, where I was taught strict classical ballet. But I felt stifled by its formality. I wanted to reinvent Chinese dance, to transform it. At the age of 23, I became creative director of the Shanghai Song and Dance Group. Once, I just wanted to dance. Now, when I perform, I want to talk to people in a new language.
Whatever your journey, keep walking.
And one more from the series.
Life is an opportunity, not an obligation. I have learned this over a lifetime of doing what my soul calls me to do. I am an explorer. When I was a boy, I heard stories about a Russian explorer. He died trying to reach the North Pole. My dream was to complete his journey. And when I became the first Russian to reach the North Pole, I realized there are no rules. I have climbed the 7 highest mountains, sailed around the world single-handed 3 times. And now I am preparing to row across the Atlantic. Because man cannot discover new oceans until he has the courage to lose sight of the shore.
Whatever your journey, keep walking.
Okay, so that's Johnny Walker. The next series is from Canon. There's 2 projects we wanted to show you here. And it's a very good example, we feel, of the way that our work has migrated from TV to online. So the first one is The Shot. It's a series of, again, short-form vignettes which run on pan-European television and online about famous, initially very famous photographs taken by top photographers like Jim Lackman, but eventually kind of migrated into far more kind of top-end amateurs, as it were, who were looking to kind of emulate these masters. So we're going to show you one from that. As I said, that was a pan-European TV campaign. And then we're going to show you just one example from the series that then took over from The Shot, which was The Assignment, which is an online series. And what was so interesting about that was ran in conjunction with a European-wide competition, the largest European photography competition ever. And as part of the reward for entering the competition, you got to go online and see a tutorial. So I'll show you one of those tutorials after this.
Skateboarding is essentially quite an aggressive thing. You can photograph it aggressively, but there's also a beauty to it, an art to it. You're going against gravity, you're falling far too far through the air, but sometimes all the elements come together like in a dream, and things are just perfect. Those are the moments that I really love.
The Shot, in association with the Canon EOS 350D.
did these sit online? Or were they on Canon's website?
The shot series was a pan-European TV vignette series, and it sat on Canon's site.
On Canon's website.
The piece of work that Mark's going to show you now is called The Assignment, and it ran purely online and was trailered in broad spots in some European territories. So this shows a migration with one client from television to online.
Yeah. The Assignment had its own unique website because of the competition.
Good portraits have character, drama and atmosphere, and there's plenty of that here at the Ivrea Orange Carnival. In this assignment, Magda and Benjamin will aim to capture that fleeting essence of people and their stories in a mix of close portraits and wide shots. As well as a zoom lens, both of them will have an 85mm lens, ideal for this kind of photography. In amongst the mayhem, we'll need to protect our cameras, and we'll need to wear something that says we're neutral, so we'll all be wearing red hats. Good portraits taken in conditions like this will have followed a few simple rules. Whatever your aperture or shutter speed, always focus on the eye. Even if everything else is soft, a pin-sharp eye will tell an intimate story. The 85mm lens opens to a widest aperture of f1.2. This will reduce the depth of field, lift your subjects out from the background and draw us into their world. Try to keep both eyes open as you work. It helps to react quickly to events in the crowd, and maybe get a shot that otherwise you might have missed. Complicated backgrounds are often distracting. Choose simple, strong backgrounds and framing devices like doorways or windows, patterns of light and colour. Keep practicing and you'll intuitively start to feel a good shot, find its composition and know exactly when to press the shutter. But you have to get close and involved with those around you. So you've got to become part of the action. Get stuck in and you'll soon see the results in your photographs.
So that's the